Ripout is a challenging and slow-paced sci-fi horror shooter released in 2024 that I definitely suggest playing. I put about 10 hours into this game and unfortunately was unable to beat the final boss after countless tries, but according to Steam achievements, less than 5% of players even reached the final boss, so I don't feel too bad. I played the game on the normal difficulty, and this game was very hard, and I read that's why many people didn't like it, the immense challenge. This game requires a lot of caution, and in most scenarios, you simply can't go in guns blazing, or you'll get pancaked. Most enemies deal a lot of damage, and you can't really take on more than 2, 3 enemies max at any given time, so I usually found myself trying to quietly pick enemies off one at a time and only resorting to open combat when it was 100% necessary. And this game has a ton of enemy variety and use this to help sell the horror factor. The horror of this game was largely from eerie environments, suspense, jump scares, and keeping you on your toes, as danger could lie literally anywhere. Enemies could randomly burst through walls, the ceilings, be playing dead, and then randomly charge you. Even doors and furniture can't be trusted, as some doors and chairs were enemies in disguise. I never thought I'd play a game where I got attacked by a chair, of all things, and some enemies can't be picked up on your pet scanner, making them all the more difficult to fight. What is the pet gun, by the way? It isn't a single weapon, but is whatever you choose as your primary weapon. I largely stuck with the sniper rifle, aka the long gun, dealing heavy damage with a lot of range, and each pet gun holds your pet, a little alien creature that aids you in your game, as, depending on the perks you choose, he can attack enemies, retrieve critters for your usage, hack enemies and make them briefly fight for you, hack electronics, turn himself into a turret. He's very helpful and a very unique mechanic. I don't believe I've ever seen anything like it in another game. And the devs added an option where you can pet him. Such a cute little monster. As stated earlier, this game has a ton of enemy variety, consisting of normal enemies and critters. Normal enemies are just out to kill you, and come in many different forms, such as zombies, teleporting aliens with ranged acid blast, various robots, giant mutants. Everything is out to take a bite from you. The critters are a little different, as only 2 of them will sometimes attack, the claw and occasionally the homing boom bug. The rest just run away. But what exactly are the critters? They're almost like temporary power-ups and can be used by yourself, if retrieved by your pet, or used by your enemies. They were all different and ranged in usage, from launching missiles and miniature black holes, to shielding you from incoming damage, to teleporters and cloaks. Most of them were very useful, except for maybe the claw and the cloak, as the claw only did melee damage, and the cloak was just useless really, as it does a poor job of hiding you. I found the shield to be the most useful, as it's pretty much a second health bar, something very crucial in this often brutal game. Changing topics, the story of this game was really weak and barely existed. Something about a human-alien war, the aliens won, and you're one of the last of an elite soldier group genetically engineered for fighting the superior aliens who's just looking for answers, or something like that. The total cutscene time in this game is like 3 minutes. So yeah, not much focus on storytelling, and the cutscenes are shown between chapters, with Ripout containing 4 chapters, I think, along with the final boss. Each chapter consists of various amounts of story quest and a certain amount of mandatory side missions, with the required amount increasing with every chapter. but you can really do as many side quests as you want in each chapter, and you can go back to a previous chapter should you want to do that. Each quest, my apologies, or mission shows you what you can learn and what you can earn in the level, such as money or weapon blueprints, but you often have to actually search for the blueprints in the mission. The game doesn't just hand them to you. Thankfully, all levels have pretty simple designs overall, along with a compass to guide you in the direction that you need to go, and an objective reminder in the top left corner. Scattered among the levels are crates, which you can search for items, such as scraps, which can be converted to money at the crafting station, health and ammo packs, blueprints, and sometimes quest items. Also scattered among the levels are upgrade stations, giving you a choice of 3 upgrades to last you until the end of that level. You can also find checkpoints, more on that later, and stations to either receive another self-revive token if you use one that level, or to resurrect a dead teammate on multiplayer. About the checkpoints, they're kind of useless, at least on single player, as if you die, the entire mission is lost. You don't get to go back to the checkpoint, it's just death. I don't know, maybe it's different on multiplayer. I never touch co-op if you can't tell. And a player must be wary, as environmental hazards are everywhere and unexpected. A wall panel can randomly explode and hit the player, or pipes randomly bursting and hitting the player with hot steam, electrified floors, stationary mutants waiting to hit you with a vortex blast, the aforementioned hidden enemies that your pet scanner can't detect, especially zombies, as most levels have a mix of dead bodies and sleeping zombies lying around, so you'd probably want to at least melee corpses to avoid guerrilla attacks later. You know, be sure they're actually dead. More on the crafting station, it's very simple and largely just comes down to having the right blueprints and enough resources. The various scraps you collect can be converted into metal, which can be converted into money, both of which are required to craft, and Ripout has a lot of weapon and armor variety, appealing to different preferences and playstyles, but I mostly stuck with the long gun, the torpedo launching pistol, and a mace as my melee weapon. Weapons and your pet earn XP with usage and earn increased damage with every level up. Graphically, this game looks great, even taking into consideration I had to turn everything down to the minimum so my laptop could run it, and Ripout looks absolutely amazing on higher settings. The soundtrack was okay, with great and fitting sound effects, be it eerie sounds in general, gunshot noises, or a monster's roar, everything was spot on. I did encounter some bugs and glitches, and I read other players did as well. Sometimes the pet would randomly get stuck on something and you'd have to manually call him back, or the game crashing sometimes, along with iffy controller support. And on a final note, the devs decided to add flushing toilets to the game. Absolutely amazing. Overall, I think this game deserves a 8.4 out of 10. I'd wait for a sale though, as its normal price of $20 I think seems a bit steep, and there are rumors of a PlayStation port for anyone wondering. Well, y'all, that's my video for today. For anyone new here, I mostly play, review, and discuss zombie and horror games, so feel free to check out some of my other content if that sounds interesting. Always remember that Jesus loves you all very much. Peace.